Boris Johnson called for the eurozone to be partially dismantled when Britain was asked to contribute to a second bail-out of Greece, unearthed reports reveal. Last week, EU leaders decided to develop a recovery fund to support governments with limited fiscal space, but, once again, they did not give any indication about the size of that fund and whether it will be made up of loans or grants. Market players have concerns that if the fund provides only loans, then that will exacerbate government debt piles. Certain governments in Europe, though, strongly believe this is the only way forward. After the meeting with his EU counterparts, Sebastian Kurz, the Chancellor of Austria, said, "Austria is also ready to show solidarity to support the recovery of our economies. We should do this through loans. A mutualization of debt or Eurobonds are not acceptable." On the other hand, highly indebted nations, such as Italy and Spain, are pushing for grants instead, so their finances are less badly damaged. The European Commission, the executive arm of the EU, has been tasked to present an idea for the Recovery Fund by early May. The proposal will be part of the wider EU budget plan for the period between 2021 and 2027. As uncertainty continues and the crisis deepens, unearthed reports shed light on how the bloc dealt with the southern European debt crisis in 2010. 10 years ago, British taxpayers were faced with a similarly hefty bill when the UK was forced to sign a controversial EU bailout deal. Former Chancellor Alistair Darling, who was representing Britain until a new government was formed in 2010, had to participate in a £95 billion stabilisation mechanism aimed at saving the euro, even though the UK was never part of the monetary union. The following year, Britain was asked to participate in the second bail-out of Greece. However, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who at the time was Mayor of London, called for Greece to go bankrupt and leave the euro, instead. Writing in the Daily Telegraph 9 years ago, the former Mayor of London claimed the euro's troubles had exacerbated the financial crisis and challenged George Osborne, the former Chancellor, to stop chucking good money after bad. As Mr Osborne was preparing to join European talks on agreeing a new £100 billion rescue package for Greece, Mr Johnson wrote that European monetary union should have been partially dismantled. He wrote, "For years, European governments have been saying it would be insane and inconceivable for a country to leave the euro. But this second option is now all but inevitable, and the sooner it happens the better." The prominent Eurosceptic claimed that Greece would have done better to forge a new economic identity with a new drachma. He added, "The euro has exacerbated the financial crisis by encouraging some countries to behave as recklessly as the banks themselves. We are supposedly engaging in this bail-out system to protect the banks, including our own. But as long as there is the fear of default, as long as the uncertainty continues, confidence will not return across the whole of Europe." Britain did not contribute to the first Greek bail-out via the EU, but a European-wide rescue fund set up following the crisis led to British taxpayers underwriting subsequent bail-outs. The Exchequer contributed more than £6 billion to Ireland and up to £4 billion to Portugal. It also provided £19.7 billion to the International Monetary Fund, which is also involved in the Greek rescue deal. In 2011, though, EU leaders agreed that the UK and other EU countries not in the eurozone should not have been part of any future eurozone bailouts. The eurozone subsequently established a new bailout fund, paid for by, and benefiting, eurozone countries only. In 2015, when the third Greek bailout was agreed, Greece was also given a short-term bridging loan of €7 billion £6.09 billion from an EU-wide fund which can provide loans to any EU country in financial difficulty. The fund is financed by borrowing against the EU budget. The UK would have been indirectly liable for around €855 million £598 million of the loan through its share in the EU budget. However, the government agreed a deal with the EU under which the European Central Bank, Eurozone countries only, would cover any liabilities that would have fallen to the UK or other non-Eurozone countries. This meant that the UK and other non-Eurozone countries were exempted from any risk of losing money in this emergency loan to Greece.